Welcome to Do It Yourself with Wayne. Today we're here in our kitchen and we're going to do something a little bit different. For starters, I got my sweetie Ann in here with me. She's generally working behind the camera. She's the one that makes a lot of our videos look a lot better, and I really appreciate her help. But today I've got her in front of the camera, so I'm going to turn it over to Ann.
So today we're in the kitchen and we're going to be making homemade suet. I realize that suet, when you buy it in the store, is not very expensive, but I make it because I enjoy making it. And today we're going to be talking about a variety of ingredients and why we use certain things and why we avoid others.
All right, so let's get on to making some bird suet, or suet for little birds.
Same thing.
Right.
In addition to the ingredients for your suet, you're going to need a fairly good sized pot, a good stiff stirring spoon, and a pan to pour it into when you're finished. To make a basic 5 ingredient suet, all you need is low sodium peanut butter. If you can find the salt-free, great. If not, just buy the lowest sodium you can find. You need lard. I always use meat-based lard. Don't use the vegetable shortening. Oats, birdseed, and cornmeal. Cornmeal needs to be just plain cornmeal, not self-rising with any added ingredients. Birdseed, whatever you have on hand, and your oats can be either quick cooking or instant. You can add additional things to your basic suet to attract different kinds of birds. This is just raw peanuts, unsalted raw peanuts that I've ground up in the food processor. Certain birds are attracted to peanuts. Woodpeckers, blue jays, cardinals, nuthatches all enjoy the peanuts. If you grind them, the smaller birds can enjoy them too. This is mealworms. They're not real attractive to look at, but blue jays and bluebirds really like mealworms. This is chick starter or premium poultry feed. It's good for mama birds when they're starting to lay their eggs. It makes their eggs stronger. It's good for baby birds when they're big enough to eat at the feeders to promote healthy bones. So this is some additional things you can add. You can also add little bits of dried fruit. So the more things you add, I feel like you attract more and different types of birds to your feeders and to your suet. Let's move forward with making our suet. This is a 1-pound box of lard, and for anyone that does much cooking, you know that measuring out lard, shortening, peanut butter can be a real mess. But because we're not baking a cake and this isn't going to be rocket science, we can just cut around our lard, cut it half in two, and then take a spoon and scoop out half the box into our pot. I've got the burner turned on to a medium-low temperature. You don't want to turn it up too high because you don't want your lard to get too hot. This is a 1-pound jar of peanut butter, so we can just scoop out half this jar and we'll have basically a cup. Turn our heat down just a little more. It's getting a little too warm. Now we're just going to let these two ingredients melt together. So we have our peanut butter and our lard melted together, and you do want to use a fairly low heat to do this because it will start to overheat quickly. Now we're going to start adding in our other ingredients. Does not matter what order you add them in, and again, this isn't rocket science, so Basically, I've got about the same amount of every ingredient. This is a cup of cornmeal, cup of oats, and when I said instant oatmeal, I did not mean oatmeal with any sugar or added ingredients, just plain oatmeal. Now, if we were making our basic suet, we would just add more of those ingredients until it reached a consistency where we could easily pour it into the pan and it would kind of hold its form. But because I'm going to add more ingredients, we're not going to use as much of those. So these are the mealworms. This is about a cup of mealworms. And this is probably a cup and a half of the ground peanuts. I think this needs to be a little stiffer, so we're going to add some more cornmeal to this.
I see you're measuring that very carefully too.
Yes. Like I said, we're not baking a cake. Alright, we're going to pour this into our pan and put it in the freezer and let it stiffen up to the point that we can cut it. I'm going to turn it.
Alright, I'm going to move these bowls out of our way. And let's get our pan over here where they can see a little bit better. There we go. So you just flatten it out like that in your tray and you put it in the freezer to freeze, right?
Right. It doesn't even have to freeze, it just needs to get cold enough to hold together. Here's our suet after 20 minutes in the freezer. We don't want it to freeze, we just want it to firm up enough to be able to cut it into blocks so it'll fit into the suet feeder. So let's proceed now to empty this out of the pan and cut it into our blocks. We have a fairly large feeder, so we're going to cut ours into larger blocks, but you can cut it into any size that suits your needs.
Yeah, and if you like the size that you typically buy as suet blocks, they come in those little plastic trays usually. If you save those trays, you could make your own suet in those trays and have that size, which fits a lot of suet feeders. But if you make your own, obviously you can cut them whatever size you want.
So at this point, our suet is ready to go into your suet feeder. Now that we have our suet blocks complete, I'm going to wrap them in plastic wrap and store them in the refrigerator or the freezer for an extended period of time. They keep really well.
Yes, and also we'll add links in the description, but we've got multiple videos already about bird houses, bird feeders, different things that we've done for the birds. And so if you're interested in any of that, like I said, we'll put links to those things in the description. And also we'll put links to some of the different products that we use making our suet. We'll have links for some of that in the description as well. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. But at this point, I'd just like to say thank you for visiting. Do it yourself with Wayne and Ann. And please subscribe and, like our video, share it with your friends, do all those things. And we just hope you have a great day.